Hello and welcome back. So about 4 months ago, I decided to simplify my notebook system and use only one notebook, this one. And right now I'm at this point. And I filled this much in about 4 months since April, which is not what I expected at all. But I guess that's what happens when you are using only one notebook for everything. And I think I'm pretty close to finishing it considering the speed that I'm using it. So I decided to share my thoughts on how this system is going because I definitely have some opinions. And I also want to share what I'll be doing moving forward. So before I started this, I had a whole bunch of notebooks that I was using at the same time, and none of them really had a specific purpose. I was just picking one up whenever I felt like it and putting into it whatever I was doing at the time. And I've always had a tendency to collect a lot of notebooks. Like I'll use one for a while and then I will get bored of it, find another one that I like, and then I also will start using that one, and then I will end up using 3 or 4 notebooks at the same time. But I don't really buy a lot of notebooks and like leave them empty. I actually use all of the notebooks that I own. But the issue is I use all of them randomly at the same time. And eventually I just have no idea where anything is. So at the time I thought, okay, all of these notebooks are almost finished anyway, so let me just get rid of all of them and just continue with only one notebook. And that's exactly what I did. I bought this simple lined B6, very cheap, soft cover notebook. And I have to say, I really don't like this notebook. First of all, I really don't like lined paper, and I think I'm not going to go back to lined paper anytime soon. Also, this is quite difficult to keep open, which is something that really bothers me when I'm actually trying to use a notebook while I'm working. And the only advantage about using this notebook was that I never really had to think about, oh, where is this notebook for this purpose? I just have the notebook and I just open it and write, which is pretty convenient. But as I said, that was really the only advantage for me, because what happened here is just everything. There are to-do lists, brain dumps, interstitial journaling, sometimes normal journaling, a lot of ideas, creative thinking, creative writing, random notes. And now looking back at it, it's a complete mess. If I wanted to find something that I wrote in here, that would be pretty hard to do. And that brings me to something important about how I use my notebooks. Most of the time, I use them to save the moment. I write something down because I need it right now. Like I write it down, I deal with whatever I need to deal with, and then I move on. I don't usually think, I'm going to keep this page forever and I'm going to come back to it in 6 months. I just don't keep my old journals to look through them or anything. I use them, I finish them, and I move on. So for that kind of journaling, using one notebook works really well. But the problem starts when I actually have something that I need to come back to. And I recently started doing something like a rolling brain dump. Basically, I keep one ongoing list where I write down things that are in my head and things that I need to do. It can be something that I need to do today or this week or this month or this year, doesn't matter. Any task that keeps taking up space in my head. For example, last year I transferred all of my photos from my phone onto my hard drive, and that was one of my very first videos on this channel actually. And I haven't done it again since, and the photos on my phone started piling up again. And once in a while I keep remembering, oh, I need to organize my photos, yeah. And it's one of the tasks that I hate doing the most. Like I will keep avoiding it forever. But because I haven't dealt with it, it will just keep coming back into my head. And there are so many things like that. When you have a lot of these little unfinished things floating around in your head, it can become really exhausting. But when I write them down, I really feel much calmer. But the problem is I started keeping this rolling list in this notebook. So I'll write a bunch of things on a page and then cross some of them off after doing it, and then I'll add some more, and then I'll come to the end of it at one point, right? And then I'll have to continue that list like 20 pages later maybe, because while I was going through that list, I was still continuing with my interstitial journaling, with my other lists and random ideas. So I was continuing to use my notebook for other things too. And then my list ends up being separated, and it's a hassle to find where that list was. And I have the same problem with my ideas. I have so many ideas in here that I actually want to keep. Like I'll think of something like a a video idea, a concept, something I will want to explore later, and I'll write it down in this notebook, right? And then later I will think, wait, I had an idea about this, but I have absolutely no idea where I wrote that. And that's when I started realizing that maybe one notebook isn't really the best system for me. But is such a system really all bad and impossible to work with? No. If you're thinking of using a one notebook system, my advice would be to actually separate it into sections. Give yourself one part for ideas, one part for journaling, one part for to-do lists, like whatever makes sense for you, whatever you use your notebook for. I didn't do that with this notebook, and I think now it's too late to switch to that. I'm just going to finish it as it is. I'm not abandoning it though. I am actually going to finish this notebook. But after this, I'm changing my system. Actually, I'm already changing my system, but I'm going to talk about that in a minute. Although I have to admit that I already failed at a one notebook system, actually. Because if you remember this little notebook, I said I was probably going to get rid of it because I didn't like it. And then I ended up liking it and I started using it. And I use it basically in the exact same way as I use this one. Just whatever I want, whatever I feel like writing. Just 2 notebooks of chaos. And then I got this thin notebook because I thought it lays flat, which is really great for filming. It also doesn't lay completely flat, but it's much better. So now I have 3 notebooks. And guess what? They all have everything in them. So I basically went back to exactly where I started. So I got rid of all of my notebooks because they were chaotic and somehow ended up with 3 chaotic notebooks again, which is ridiculous. But I think I've learned something from it. Maybe I'm just someone who likes having a few notebooks. Maybe I need to stop trying to force myself using one notebook only. Like I naturally gravitate towards using different notebooks. I get bored when I'm doing something in exactly the same way for too long. And I think maybe I should just accept that. I did think about using a traveler's notebook for this problem, and I thought that would actually solve it. Like I would just have a cover with some different inserts, and each insert would have a different purpose. That actually sounded good to me because I used to make my own notebooks too, by the way. Like I would design different types of pages, I would print them, and then I would bind them into a notebook, and they were kind of like the traveler's notebook inserts. But I think there would be a couple of problems with using a traveler's notebook for me. First of all, I don't want a leather notebook. Well, I could find a non-leather alternative, but I don't want to deal with that. But secondly, I just know myself. Even if I had one traveler's notebook with like 5 different inserts inside, I would eventually get bored of that too. I would see another notebook and I would be like, ooh, I want that one. And then I think I would have like many different sizes of traveler's notebooks. And I don't think I'm ready for doing such a thing right now. So for now, what I actually need is a simple system. I need just a few notebooks, each with a clear purpose. And I'm going to try to not go crazy with this. I'm not going to give every tiny activity its own notebook. I only want separate notebooks for things. Separation actually will make my life easier. And I already have a few ideas for what those will actually be. So a while ago, my partner gifted me this fountain pen. And he also got me some notebooks with paper that would fit a fountain pen. So they are unlined notebooks, and I just put them away when I got them because I didn't want to immediately start another notebook. But now I have a plan for them. The first thing I know I need is a journal. And if you remember, I was saying that I was going to switch to digital journaling because I was stuck between writing in a notebook and writing on my laptop. And I just realized that I just simply don't like digital journaling. It's just not really for me. So if you have a fountain pen friendly notebook recommendation that is a bit bigger than a B6 size notebook, definitely let me know because I'm looking for one. Then I know I need a separate notebook for my rolling brain dump. And this one is going to be small because I just need a small notebook that I can carry around with me, which will have my general tasks that I need to do. I can write them down, cross them off when I'm done with them. I can move them somewhere else if I need to. And I can just keep this list going in one notebook. So I'm going to be using this little Rhodia notebook for this purpose. By the way, these are both Rhodia notebooks. The paper is really smooth. It almost feels like magazine paper to me. I don't know anything about paper, so that is the extent of my review. And because I'm terrible at writing in straight lines, I'm also going to make myself one of those little pencil boards with lines on it. I can just put it underneath the page and use it as a guide whenever I need it. And also one of them got chipped everywhere overnight, just sitting on my table. I really have no idea what happened overnight. But I've also learned to not care too much about such things. The notebook is going to get used, it's going to get old, and it's going to get dirty and scratched everywhere anyway. What matters is what I put inside of it. Then I have this blue notebook. This one is going to be for creative thinking and creative writing and all of my creative ideas, because there are so many things in this notebook that I actually want to go back to, like ideas, concepts, drawings, things I was thinking about, video ideas. A lot of things. And I keep worrying that I've forgotten something good because it's hard to find it again. And I don't want to go over the whole notebook to find a small idea. So I want one place where all of that creative stuff can live. And then there's the stuff that I do every day, my daily struggle notebooks, my interstitial journaling, my to-do lists, my trackers, notes about what I'm doing while I'm working. I'm going to continue doing that in these notebooks until I finish them. But when I do get a new one for this purpose, I know exactly what I want. I want something bigger, and I want a dotted notebook for sure. And I want something that can stay open and lay flat on my desk while I'm working, and that I can keep open the whole day. And I don't want spirals. So if you have a recommendation for that, I would really love to hear it. So 4 months later, this one notebook system is officially coming to an end. But I'm not going back to having a pile of notebooks with no purpose. I will have a journal. I will have a rolling brain dump notebook, a notebook for creative thinking, and my daily struggles notebook, like my interstitial journaling and stuff like that. So 4 notebooks, 4 different jobs, and for once I will actually know where everything is going to live. You will see more of my new way of using my notebooks in the future videos more clearly. Next week I'll be talking about the new rolling brain dump notebook. We will set it up together, and I'll also show you my experience using it throughout the week. So stay tuned for that. And thank you very much for watching. As usual, I'm waiting for your notebook recommendations, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!